Let's continue my commentary. I say, what is more, based on the weight of the testimony of the rest of the Bible, these are my own thoughts, the sentiments expressed by my 4 Christian samples do not seem to portray Yeshua's teachings from this passage in the best historical and theologically accurate manner. And this is what I mean when I talk about how that if you look at what Yeshua said earlier in the book of Matthew, particularly around chapter 5, during a Sermon on the Mount address, he doesn't say that he's come to do away with the law. He does say he's come to fulfill it, right? So he uses the F word. Yeah, I kind of jokingly, humorously said he uses the F word. He came to fulfill it, but this word fulfill, as it was originally used by Yeshua, has come to mean something perhaps even slightly different or even entirely different in Christian narrative circles, right? When Yeshua said he came to fulfill it, I'm of the impression that he meant something along the lines of demonstrating the fullness of its meaning, filling it up to full measure so that nothing is lacking, so that prophecies are brought to their fullness and their zenith in me as the Messiah, as the one spoken about in Moses. All that the law represents is embodied in me as the Messiah. I'm filling in for what I think Yeshua meant by the word fulfilled. All right, I'll flash a little video on the screen as well that talks about this. Fulfilled also can carry the connotation of I came to demonstrate how to do it correctly so that you have a model, a perfect model to follow now. In other words, Yeshua was aware that the Jewish leaders of the day were they had marred the image of Moses. They had corrupted it. They had so clouded and confused what it meant to be a Torah-observant person that your average follower, your average Jewish person in the first century couldn't make heads or tails between what God said and what the rabbi said and what the traditions were saying, right? It was all kind of mashed together. It was all conflated. It was all mixed up and confused together. There was so much oral tradition and tradition itself built on top of the written word of God that the written word of God had lost its potency. It was very difficult to even ascertain what God was asking us to do because there were so many extra biblical requirements and minutia tacked on top of it. And Yeshua came to cut through all of that. He came to get back to the pure love and grace and truth of his Father's Torah, as was given to Moses originally, before it was perverted and corrupted and twisted by the religious leaders and the systems of the day. Yeshua came to kind of push the reset button, as it were, not on Judaism as a religion, but on the, well, maybe you could say he did, but as I understand it, when he says, I came to fulfill it, he said, he came to say, look, you guys have been trying to keep the Torah, but you're following tradition after tradition and oral Torah after oral Torah, and you don't even really know what my Father said. You don't even know what the written word says anymore. You just only know what the traditions say. Let me tell you what the written word really says. And he kind of modeled it and lived his life in such a way that was perfectly Torah observant. And he showed and he demonstrated what true Torah observance meant. And so he left an example for us to follow so that Paul can come along later on and say, imitate me as I imitate Christ. Which means Paul was trying to say, I've got a version of Torah observance that is modeled after the Messiah's version of Torah observance. And so if you want to know what Messiah, how he lived his life, look at me, imitate me, because I believe by the Spirit of God, I'm Paul speaking, I believe I'm fulfilling the law just like Christ fulfilled the law. Indeed, he goes on to write in Romans chapter 8 that we who are followers of Yeshua, we can fulfill the righteous requirement of the law. So we're using the F word again as well. But again, all of this is in contradistinction to a perspective being offered by later Christianity that says fulfillment is tantamount to no longer keeping the law or being obligated to keep it. Understand what I'm saying there? So Christianity's version, historic Christianity, by and large, took the word fulfill in Jesus' statement in Matthew 5 as to be, Jesus did it so we no longer have to do it. He fulfilled it, and he fulfilled our obligation to do it. We don't have to concern ourselves with it. We're free from any obligation to do it. We no longer have to concern ourselves with it. We're free from the law. And we're now longer, we're under grace. We don't have to do it because Jesus did it. God was asking someone to do it. Jesus stepped in and said, hey, I'll do it. He did it perfectly. Therefore, we don't have to do it anymore. And so that's their version of fulfillment, which I, again, disagree with. All right, let's keep reading my commentary. Let me see how much time I got. You know what? This is a perfect place to stop. Let's pick this up next week and finish this. We're working our way down through the summary section, and we're working our way towards some conclusions. But we'll just keep going. It's probably going to go for another, I don't know, we're actually very near the end of the study, so it's not too much, it's not terribly too much longer. I think I'll be able to finish this before the end of this year. So, but that'll do it for our Judaism and Christianity incompatible with one another.